show off to us. Not necessarily successful projects. We like to see projects that have stalled out. We like to see abject failures. Whatever it is that you're working on, we're fascinated to learn all about it. And I'm appreciative to the folks who've brought things in to share with us tonight. First up, we've got Josh, who would like to show you his wrist.
It's a good thing. Well, I did. My mother did, but. Hello, everyone. Typically, I bring in some turnings, and I've been learning much more wood turning lately. However, if it doesn't show well, I am at a bit of a disadvantage lately. And there's a good moral to this story. So I currently work at a bar and restaurant. I'm usually a PhD student, but we'll get into that later. And so I serve. I need to use my wrists quite a bit. And turning is also quite hard on your hands and wrists if you don't do things correctly, like rest and things of that nature. So I turned my little tuchus off and collected all the large bowl blanks that I could, and I started having some wrist pain. I had some wrist pain in both of my hands, and I thought I could take care of it myself. So I got some sleep guards, sleep braces for carpal tunnel. Carpal tunnel typically bothers the index and middle finger. You'll have numbness throughout. That's usually just a swelling of the space right underneath the crease. Everything has to run through that different section, so you have a increase in swelling around that. You may lose blood flow, and it'll affect your nerves where you won't be able to grip as hard or hold a tool as hard. I thought it was that. I grabbed those, slept with them so I didn't over flex my wrist at night. That helped a little bit, and I continued to work and turn. And then it got worse and started to affect my pinky finger and ring finger and translated all the way to ulnar tunnel syndrome, or through Goyer's tunnel, which is a little less common. So right now, these two fingers are most of the time numb. It was massively swollen. It's still a little swollen now, but the compression does help. Really hard to see, but I have usually just dainty little wrists, and you can see all of my tendons because that's where tendons run. But I finally sought out some medical professionals, a doctor besides myself, who told me rest is very important. I'm going through some hot and cold modalities and not doing the stretches that I originally found online because I was overstretching the area. So the moral of the story is, if something hurts, you should probably take it easy. Rest is the most important session for the most part, and seek medical professionals if you do. I haven't been able to brush my teeth with this hand, so it's very difficult with my left hand. I'm right-hand dominated. I ate a salad the other day with my left hand, and it was mostly in my mustache. That's a great look that you don't terribly want. So again, we're all here because we love to do things, but if you don't take care of yourself, you don't get to continue to do those things. I probably won't be able to turn for about a month. Now that I'm actually under the care of a medical professional who happens to be a friend, who happens to let me know that that was a very stupid thing to do. So my background is in biomechanics, exercise science, kinesiology, so I know mostly what to do, but I needed a medical professional. So if I can't make it, seek out help. Any uplifting questions? Neil?
I'm sorry to hear about your injury.
There are worse things, but I appreciate it.
But I will tell you, this is not going to get you a third ship on the UFO club.
Okay. I'll get it there, don't worry. Don't worry, there's always time. So, learn from my mistakes, but continue to make things in your own way. I've just now going to do more. I've been planning on making tools, so I can slowly, through the guise of people helping me, make tools. I can plan out what I want to make. I can seek out techniques and learn. I'm just using other things in this time. So, always a possibility.
Real question, were you able to identify what position your wrists were in to aggravate the situation?
So anytime, typically excessive flexion. So most of us, the human body naturally is much stronger in flexion. That's through every joint you have. Flexion is going to use the muscles that typically originate at the medial epicondyle of the elbow. They all attach there. All the actual muscle bellies are here, and then just tendons run through to move. Most of us are, again, much more dominant flexor than extensor, so that misbalance can cause quite a bit of swelling as well too. And over-aggravating the actual carpal and ulnar tunnels was that excessive flexion. You can actually see it raises up quite a bit. You get tension as you flex. Oh no, this side's okay. This one needs the brace. But excessive flexion. So the braces at night were gentle, no compression. They just made sure I wasn't able to sleep all curled up like my wife, dog, and cat require me to on my own bed. If it can light up with a shade, maybe. But the jury's out. We shall see. Daryl.
Just an encouragement to avoid thinking of the mustache as a salad liability and think of it as a flavor saver.
Would be excellent. The salad question was Caesar. High anchovy risk, not worth the save. Don't recommend it. Lovely salad though. Any other questions? Okay. Remember, seek help if you need it.
Important safety tips there. Repetitive making syndrome is a thing, and it's something for us to all think about. We can all take a lesson from Josh, certainly. Develop your ambidexterity now so that you can injure your hands one at a time. Next up, we've got Randy, who will show us a chipper shredder and perhaps something that's been shredded.
Actually, this chipper shredder took off the edge of my finger a year ago, so I know all about eating with my left hand. About 3 years ago, I bought a DR Pro XL501 chipper shredder. Basically, it's a low-end commercial unit, and it worked great for a year. And then the second year, I noticed that the eject material was not quite as small as it was before. Before, it made great mulch for planter boxes and stuff like that. Then I was more or less getting chips out of it. And at about the 2-year mark, there was a recall on these things. And what they had is this plate here that I'll show you the picture. Has these little shark fins. Now you see these little weld spots? There used to be 5 of them across there. And what would happen is there's this rotating thing with some hammers that would go between these, and they weren't exactly precise, and they would break off these shark fin things. And as a result, it didn't mulch the material very well. Of course, the big problem was when these things broke off, they kind of got ejected out of the machine and hit people. So that I never noticed it. Now there were 2 of these plates in the machine, and both of them had 1 left. So basically 8 of those things had flown out at one point or another. I always use a face shield when I use the thing, but nothing hit the face shield. So these things are probably scattered around my yard somewhere. Well, they had a recall, and they said, well, we'll send you some new things to replace these with. And I said, great, because I'm really not happy with the kind of mulch it's producing. And that's what they sent me. Let's just say I was less than thrilled. So, being the maker type that I am, I cut up some old lawnmower blades and welded them across. Now, these things probably would have worked. If you notice here, they just welded on either end of this shark fin thing. I said, maybe if they welded the whole path, it would have stayed on there. So I welded along the whole path, and it worked great for about a month and a half. And then the thing completely disintegrated. I mean, it blew apart. Pieces were flying out at me this time around. And so I quickly removed my makeshift shark fin thing and put these guys on and took it into the shop because I had just purchased a $400 3-year extended service contract on it. And I didn't want them seeing the hack job I did on it. Well, it sat in this was a little over a year ago, sat in the shop for 3 months. And I figured this is par for the course for DR Power because it took them 3 months when I ordered it for them to ship the thing to me. I must have built it in China and had it shipped at that point. 3 months passed and I called Mayo Garden Center, which was the service center for this thing. And they said, well, we haven't heard anything, we haven't gotten the parts in from them. Okay, I'll give them another couple months. I know how bad their service department is, not Mayo, but DR Power. And so another 3 months rolled by. It's about September at this point. And that's time I called up DR Power. Oh, we've got another recall. There's something wrong with the hammers. And I said, yeah, I know all about that. It wasn't my fault. The thing was just designed poorly and the bars in there just broke after a while. And I wasn't the only one that had this happen to it. And I mean, it was really scary and dangerous when it happened. So they said, we'll have new parts out in November. So okay, wait till November, call them up. It'll be next month, December 15th, you'll get the stuff for sure. So December 15th comes and goes, and January comes and goes, and February comes and goes. And I call them up in March. Oh, no, I called them in February, and they said, oh, we'll have the stuff to you March 15th for sure. I waited until April 1st, and then I sicked my wife onto them. After about a half hour on the phone with them, she got me a full refund for the unit. So I was happy about that, except now I needed a chipper shredder. It's great they gave me my money back. I bought a Big Bear commercial chipper, not a shredder. I'll let you know how bad that is in another year or so. But they told me, we don't want to pay you to ship that thing back. Cut the spark plug wire and send us a picture of that, and that'll be good enough to get your refund. So I cut the spark plug wire and sent them a picture and got the refund. So now I have a 16 horsepower gasoline electric start engine sitting on my pickup that I'm going to donate to this place, and you guys can fight over who gets it. I have no use for it. It did have a nice little trailer with a pin hitch on it that I was glad to keep because I was just about to buy a trailer at Harbor Freight to haul around some water barrels, and that just saved me several $100s for that. So, and all in all, it turned out good, except for the year that I didn't have a chipper shredder to use. Any questions? The engine, by the way, is a 16 horsepower. I think it's 750 cc or something like that. Like I say, electric start. Even got the battery out there, although the battery's 3 years old, and what I know of yard implement batteries, it's probably gone by now. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, it seems that the emerging theme of the evening is one of safety, which is probably a good thing to be reminded of. And let me take the opportunity to remind you that Tony serves as our safety czar here in the workshop. He makes sure that our first aid kits are stocked up and that we've got fire extinguishers and all that sort of thing. If you have any safety questions or concerns, Tony's your guy. Our list tonight is sadly sparse. Did anyone bring projects to show? Yes, ma'am.
I actually did. I haven't joined yet, and I need to talk to somebody about that, but I did bring some things to show.
Please.
My name is Mary Ann. I did polymer clay, wire jewelry and polymer clay jewelry for about 4 years, and for about a year and a half now, I've been doing stained glass. And I see you have a little stained glass area. So I thought I'd bring some things to show you. I'm still not totally satisfied with my ability, but I enjoy it, so I keep doing it. one of the things that made me interested in being here is learning other things. Now, I just made this, I don't know how this works. Do I just lay something on there? Okay, well, this one first I'll just hang up for you. This is a wind chime that I just made out of scraps of glass. Is the light hitting it? Can you see? Of course, they don't make the kind of noise that a tuned wind chime would, but I had friends cut this piece of wood for me. And I thought, ooh, if I could learn how to use those machines, I could make a really pretty top to it, right? So that's one of the things I'd like to learn, especially since one friend had the pieces of wood, and then I had to go to another friend to round off the corners, and then I was, so anyway. And then the other pieces I have here that I can show you are actual soldered stained glass. Let's see, so if I just lay this down here, it will show. I have an Irish Water Spaniel, so I made that to look like an Irish Water Spaniel. The Irish Water Spaniel is kind of like a poodle, but a little chunkier like a lab. I'm a big dog nut, so I just actually made this. Oh, you can't see it.
No. Put your hand over the top of it. There you go.
There's my hand. Can you see the dog? So I didn't etch that. I bought the middle piece. It's beveled, and I put the frame around it. What I want to improve is my soldering, because soldering is supposed to be a nice, smooth bead, and mine is not quite so smooth. I don't know if it's the Starbucks that makes my hand shake or what, but I'm working on that. Let's see, what else did I bring? Just two more things, I think. Someone asked me to make this for them. Fish. Yes.
Tail, is that painted?
Yeah, this is actually colored in the stripes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think I have one more. No, I have two more in here.
Another question about
The fish?
you don't have to pull it back out, but did you use a pattern or did you?
Yes, pattern. What you do is, and you can find some.
I've taken the beginners of
Okay.
beginners. It's just some people are really good at putting these things together.
Yes, and a lot of people make their own patterns. I'm not good at drawing freehand, so I find pictures online, and you have to cut it out like a puzzle. Then you glue it to the glass, you cut out the glass, and then you put it together like a puzzle. So yeah, or you can buy patterns too. Here's another one that I made. I didn't put a chain on this yet. And one more. Let's see how this comes out. So, really the solder should be nice and smooth, and you see it's not. And the other tricky thing I found, because I don't feel like I have a straight eye, when I make something, like the fish was okay, because it was supposed to be all different around the edge, but when you make something square, you really notice when it's not perfectly square. It's kind of like when you wallpaper and you're going along, and then all of a sudden, it's crooked after you've done, like 3 panels of it. So anyway, those are my stained glass things. I'd be happy to show people how to do it. Oh, that's mine. I said, what's that noisy thing? That's the the wind chime.
Did you find the pattern for the dog?
I have a welcome sign that was made out of metal. I traced the dog and then made the lines in it in order to do the pieces. So you can do, you can do that kind of thing too. Yeah, behind.
So on YouTube, everything's on YouTube. I watched a demonstration where a person was using a pair of this heavy shears, not actually scissors, to cut glass.
To cut glass?
And he did it underwater. That was the point of the demonstration. That by doing it underwater, the cracks propagate in a much more controlled fashion. So I was about to ask, do you cut this underwater?
I wasn't taught to cut the pieces underwater, but for the wind chime, I had to drill 2 holes in each piece of glass to connect with the jump rings, and those I had to drill with the diamond tip in water. Took me forever. Maybe you guys have a better tool. My Dremel was getting so hot I couldn't even hold it. But normally you wouldn't
We have water drills.
cut underwater.
It was a remarkable demonstration.
I'll have to check that out. The wind chime is the first thing I did from a tutorial on YouTube. And I made another one where I soldered each piece, and that was just with kind of like a wire triangle that you soldered together. But I go to craft fairs not to buy, but to steal ideas. And I saw wind chimes with a nice piece of wood, so then I tried that. And I've also I saw at Lenore City Craft Fair last week, somebody had these like old glass bowls, fancy old glass bowls that they used as the crown for the stained glass things to hang from, and I thought that's kind of cool too. So I'll have to go some yard sales and buy some cheap little glass things. Any other questions? Okay, thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for bringing that stuff to show us. It tickled me. I'm sorry, I couldn't help but giggle to myself hearing you say, that you're not fully satisfied with your skill. Is anyone here fully satisfied with their skill? I mean, that's the central dilemma of making, isn't it? That we have to keep going despite our constantly disappointing ourselves. Beautiful work. Thank you. Did anyone else bring anything this evening? You have something?
Well, since it seems to be turning out all about safety tonight, I thought I would bring to your attention again. Over there in the woodworking zone by the lathe, there is a screen that was originally intended to prevent anything that came flying off the lathe from arcing on over and whacking Billy in the head or anybody else who might have been working on the CNC router. So this week we sort of extended a little bit as to the purpose of that. And you'll see there's a sign on there that says it is the UFO Club. And what that's referring to, again, is if you're not familiar with wood turning, there is the occasion where you put a piece of wood on the lathe that doesn't hold very well and it can come flying off, and who knows where it could end up. So that's part of it. The other part of it is some members will, or actually most wood turners at one point or another, they'll be turning something like a bowl and they won't remember where the wood ends and the air begins, and they'll cut through the bottom, and we refer to those as a unintended funnel. So if you have a chance, go on back and check it out. So anyone who's a member who has had one of those two things happen to them while they're on the lathe, that a piece flies off, or you cut through the bottom, they get a little chip on there with their name on it to celebrate their survival. The other reason why it's up there really is also to remind members when they're on the lathe what they need to look out for. We teach this in the wood turning classes, but it's not something that's always at the forefront of their thought. Now I see I'm going to have to add something to the class about carpal tunnel. Thank you, Josh. Hmm?
That was the main one.
Okay. So both classes, excuse me, both turning classes for this month are sold out. And we will try and have the next two classes towards the beginning of July so that there's not as much of a delay between it. And, the one thing I wanted to remind you too is on this month, on the 20th, the night of the 20th, from 7 to 9 o'clock, we're going to have the first As the Lathe Turns social gathering, where we're going to talk about all manners of things wood turning, maybe have some demos or have an opportunity to work on the lathe a little bit if somebody's having a problem. I couldn't get it up on the calendar in time, but keep that in mind. June 20th from 7 to 9 p.m. Everyone's invited. It's not a class. You don't have to pay a fee for anything. Just come on in and enjoy the camaraderie. Thank you. Any questions? Okay.
All righty, thank you very much, Neil. I wanted to remind y'all of a few upcoming classes in the next week. On Wednesday, tomorrow, June the 12th, at 7 p.m., we will be hosting new member onboarding here in the classroom. If you are a prospective member, if you are currently in your probationary period, please remember the new members onboarding session is a required step before you can become a full member. And of course, everyone is invited. If you'd just like to hang out and meet the new folks, you're welcome to do that. That is tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. On Thursday, which is June 13th, at 6:30 p.m., we have an intro to TIG welding happening in the metalworking area. Unfortunately, all those tickets are gone, so I hope that you already hold them if that's something you wanted to do. On Friday, which is the 14th, at 6:30 p.m., we have a heat press and dye sublimation printer authorization class happening in the fiber arts area. There's still a couple of tickets left for that, so if you want to make caps and mugs and t-shirts and all that sort of jazz, this is a great opportunity to get checked out on those tools. Also in the fiber arts area on Saturday at 1 p.m. is Stitch and Bitch. That is an occasion to hang out with your friends and complain about unspecified things and do fiber art. Monday, we have yet another fiber arts class. This is at 6:30 p.m., which is the embroidery machine authorization. Those tickets are also gone. So the fiber arts folks are killing it. Nicely done. And I want to remind everyone who's currently in their prospective member period, probationary period, remember that whenever there's classes going on, there's folks in the shop, and that means you can come in here and get some shop time if you need it. So it's one opportunity to keep in mind. We have a full house tonight. I think we've got some new folks. If you are new and you have not gotten a tour of the workshop yet, please come up here afterwards and let's go check it out together. If you have any questions, seek someone out with a badge and get those questions answered. Other than that, though, I just want to thank everybody for being with us tonight, and let's go out in the workshop and make some weird stuff.